Okay, guys, so we're doing 6.4 honors and 5.4 for math 7. This one is about solving inequalities using addition or subtraction. Okay, an inequality is like anything that is less than or equal to or greater than equal to or just less than or just greater than. Okay, guys, those are all inequalities. All right, so it says, how does using addition or subtraction to solve an inequality compare to using the same operations to solve an equation? The first thing I wanted you to see is a lot of these you're going to have to graph. And I want to see the difference between the graphs. So this is x is less than or equal to 2. So if you notice, I've got the 2 here, I've got the 0 here. This is all I expect. Show that 2 in proximity to 0. I don't expect you to draw the lines in between and put that this is 1, okay? And then you need to show that x is less than 2. So anything less than 2 is going to be the answer for this inequality. But notice how there's an equal sign under it. That's what this means. It means less than or equal to. So when I graph it, I need to fill in the hole, okay? I need to fill in that circle. However, when it just has x is less than 2, then all I need to do is leave an open circle. So this will look the same. The only difference is there's an open circle, and we are still pointing to the left, showing anything less makes the inequality true. Okay, so let's get on to the examples. Okay, so example 2. They show in this example 2, they show an inequality and they tell you to solve it. So we solve this just like we solve the equations. We want to isolate the variable and then we want to balance the equation. In other words, I need to get x by itself. So I'm going to separate these terms on the left-hand side. If you notice, negative 10 here, need to get rid of the negative 10. So I'm going to use the additive property of equality. In other words, I'm going to add 10 to here. If I add 10 to a negative 10, that's 0. X plus 0 is just x. The equality part comes in when I need to add 10 over here also. Okay, I have to do it to both sides of the inequality. If I do that, then I show that x is greater than 25. Okay, now this is what we need to look at. We need to actually graph this. So in other words, I would go like this. I'm going to do an arrow this way. You'll see why. Here's my 0. Here's my 25. Okay, so there's my 25. So I always need to mark that on my line. This one is going to be an open circle because it can't be equal to it. X is only greater than it. And it shows this way. Notice how there's no arrow this way. It shows everything this way would be an answer for this inequality. Okay, guys? All right, let's look at the next one. Now, I've got this one from example 3, and they made this a little bit harder by putting fractions into it. Now, it's still the same thing. I mean, it's n minus 1 3/4 is less than or equal to a negative 58. So I still need to isolate the variable. I need to get n by itself, okay? So here's what we do. We go through and we separate it just like we did before. I'm going to use the additive property of equality. In other words, I'm going to add 1 3/4 this time since it's a negative, okay? And then that means, the equality means I have to add it over here, 1 3/4 also, okay? So this is gone. This cancels out. It's 0. So n is less than or equal to. Now this right here, in order for me to subtract these, I have to have the same denominator. So in other words, what I'm showing over here is it's going to be 3/4, right? That 3/4 from the 1 3/4 needs to equal something over 8 because that's what we have here. So I can multiply this by 2, multiply this by 2, and it's 6/8. So when I do this, it becomes 1 6/8 minus 5/8. In other words, this equals 1 1/8. Now, the tough part is to go through and actually graph it, okay? So when I do this, I want to make sure, first of all, that I go through and I put my line and I put 0. Now 1 1/8 is going to be over here. Like I said, I'm not expecting you guys to break it down to eighths, okay? I also need to put a circle there to mark it. This one, though, is going to be filled in because it can be equal to it. That shows the equal sign. And then we need to ask ourselves, n is less than 1 1/8. Anything less than 1 1/8 would fulfill this inequality. Okay, guys? So that's what we're looking at there. Once again, as I go through these, make sure if you don't understand them that you ask me in class, okay? Excuse me. Nose has been running. Okay, so this one is the challenge question, Excel number 7. Okay, so the challenge question, I'm going to read this real quick. I'm going to try to put in the numbers that are up here because it's the one I've already finished. So it says, last month, Marco's neighbors paid him to take care of their bird when they went on vacation. He spent $4 of his earnings on an afternoon snack and 13 on a new book. Now remember, if they say he spent, guys, those are both negatives. That's why this ended up being a negative 13 for the amount he spent on the book and a negative 4 for the amount he spent on a snack because he spent it. Okay, then it says afterwards he had at most $7 left. So at most $7 left. So in other words, what they're saying, and actually, and this one said, the one I had said at least $7 left. Okay, so we don't know what his pay is. That would be X. And it says at least $7 less. That means this is going to be greater than 7. 7 is going to be less than this amount. Okay, so because we want it to be greater than, because it was at least $7 left. Now, here's how we solve this inequality. First thing we need to do is separate the terms. Then if you notice, the negative 13 and the negative 4 can be combined. That's one thing we always want to look for. Can something be combined? So in other words, we have the 7 less than or equal to X. When I combine the 13 and 14, I get a negative 17. Then I'm going to separate them again because I need to get X by itself. Okay. Now I'm going to use the additive operation of equality, and I'm going to add 17. Okay, because negative 17 plus 17 is 0. X plus 0 is X. However, that equality part is I have to add 17 here. Okay, so then I'm going to keep this here, and that means it's 24. So what they're saying here is that they at least, the pay was greater than $24. It could be equal to or greater than $24 for him to have $7 left after he spent $13 and $4 on the book and the snack. Okay, and just so that we know how to do this, I'm going to graph it again. So in other words, I'm going like this. 24 is my main number. So I'm going to put 0 and I'm going to put 24. Okay. Now, I look at this and I see that it needs to be a closed circle because it can be equal to it. Now, what I need to look at is, is X greater than 24 or less than 24? X is greater than 24. So anything greater than 24, that means my arrow is going to go this way. Okay, guys? The inequalities, they're not terribly hard, but they're not really easy either. So make sure that you ask me any questions on anything you don't understand. All right, guys.